victory after victory, triumph after triumph, and now the lands of Snotopia stretched all the way from Megahumiopolis in the west to Easton in the east. And there would be more conquests, for a war boss does not rest on his laurels. Greenskins are either fighting or getting ready for the next fight. And after the conquest of Easton and the heroic defense of Megahumiopolis, it was time to get ready for the next fight. Snortius gazed out upon his lands from his boss chair in Snotantinople, and stuck his large finger in his nose as he pondered his next move. The first area of concern was who was going to be Nob of Easton. Now, none of Snortius's orcs were proper nobly in stature. Snortius himself had only recently hit the proper nobbish height of 8 feet, or 2.5 meters. But someone still needed to be boss. Orcamungus was a likely candidate. He was large and brutal, if a bit lacking in the cunning department. The Big Chef also had a claim to Easton. He claimed that he was going to stay after finding extensive brewing equipment. Once the Greenskins drank all the Humigrog, the Big Chef began brewing using shrooms shipped downriver from Snotantinople. Orcamungus and the Big Chef seemed to be good mates. They'd drink, they'd shout, they'd fight. It was a proper orky arrangement. Snortius decided to leave Easton in their hands and figured they would eventually sort out leadership amongst themselves. For the moment, Orcamungus was the leader in name, but Snortius would keep an eye on the Big Chef in case he got uppity and made a move to be Nob of Easton. Easton. Snortius made a face at the sound of the name. It made it sound like the town was as far east as one could go in the empire of Snotopia, which it was for the moment, but Snortius was much more ambitious than that. He declared that the new name of the town should be called Weston, because one day they would drive so far east that his once border town would be considered part of the west part of the empire. Snortius thought again for a moment that maybe he'd also like to conquer in the direction of west as well. Maybe he should have named the town Middleston. Snortius just shrugged and stuck with Weston, as mucking about with the name too much was, in fact, quite gittish. Among the loot of Weston, Snortius found 8 Vox units. The Humies stopped using that frequency to communicate, and now the Orcs had a way to talk over long distances without simply shouting loud enough. Snortius distributed the Vox units amongst his nobs and top grots, so he could now shout orders over an even longer distance. Besides brewing, what else could be done with Weston? It was a town much like Megahumiopolis before it, with similar loot. 2 tractors, 2 trucks, workshops, and more Bernie juice that the Humies called Promethium. Naturally, all the shooters the townsfolk had were looted and distributed amongst the boys. Snortius reckoned that Weston would soon be up and running and producing more gubbins just like Megahumiopolis. Speaking of Megahumiopolis, the Furious was enamored with the defeated Chimera. Despite the loss of Stinky and the Can, the Greenskins had been blessed with, what was it? A truck? No, it had tracks, not wheels. A war track, then. No, too heavy, not fast enough. A battle wagon? No, not enough DACA. The Furious decided to call it the Big Metal Box until he could come up with a better name. The Brain also had his work cut out for him in Megahumiopolis. Now, Greenskins don't exactly mourn their battlemates the way Humies do, but the loss of the Brain's dim-witted compatriot Stinky did seem to have an effect on the large-headed grot. He threw himself into his work with renewed vigor, enraged that the Humies would dare deprive him of his favorite guinea pig. He'd show those Humies. He'd get himself a new Stinky. One head, who had previously been known as Two Heads, ended up in DeBrain's fix-em-up-again room. With the loss of one of his heads, which consequently controlled half of his body, one head was a grot who was a shell of his former self, and looked to be a promising candidate. You, One Head, I will rebuild you. I will make you stronger, and then you'll be Stinky. You mean I have to change my name again? That's gonna be confusing. With only minor protestations and screaming from the new Stinky, DeBrain got to work on the new Killer Can. This one shouldn't take quite as long as the first, seeing as DeBrain made it once already. However, Snortius had need of DeBrain at that moment. For one of the Humie boys was captured and was bound and set before the mighty war boss. Listen, you! I needs to know stuff about the Humies in these lands. I'm not saying anything, you filthy Xenos. Not even if I break every single one of your fingers. No amount of pain could ever make me talk. It was then that DeBrain stepped forward, his surgery buzzsaw in hand. Listen, Humie, you're going to tell us what we want to know, or I'm going to cut away your brain until you do tell me everything I need to know. You wouldn't. I'm actually quite looking forward to it. I always wanted to know how Humie brain bits work. Okay. What do you want to know? How many gets are there? How many of us are there? I think there's over 1 million of us across the planet, based on the last census. Maybe more, maybe less. They tend to estimate the hive slums. I mean a big town. Big town? The place you came from. Oh, that small village. There's maybe about 1,000 people living there. You said that there's 1 million zillion Humies on this planet. What planet is this? Corumpere 5. You're on Corumpere 5. No Man do they call me. My mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all for listening to the latest episode of Growing the Tribe. If you like what you heard, please leave a like and a comment letting me know. If you would like to hear more stories about Snortius' growing Wa coming into conflict with Governor Greg of Corumpere 5, please subscribe. If you would like to support me, you can do so following my links to my Patreon, my Teespring, and my PayPal. Those are down below in the description. And finally, if you have absolutely no idea what's going on, you can click on the Growing the Tribe playlist to watch Snortius' rise to power from the beginning. And that should be on screen right now. Thank you all once again for listening. No Man out.